from the WDWL TV Multiplex, live from Studio 22B. We proudly present the pride of the station, the Two Grumpies, starring the grumpy old man, oh, me, and, the grumpy vulture. Come up here and take your bow. Oh, very good, very good. Oh, no, don't. You sprayed yourself with my lavender air freshener, didn't you? Yeah, well, I know it's better than smelling like roadkill, but Jesus Christ, bird. Oh, get back in your corner. Oh, jeez. This bird's starting to think he's human or something. Whoa, how did that start automatically? See, I told you this damn tablet has a mind of its own. I didn't even touch it. My hands never left my arms. Hello, friends. How are we this evening? I was doing all right today. I actually got some shit done. Mainly the laundry. I hate doing laundry. And there's nothing to it. You put the detergent in, you throw the laundry in, you set the timer, then when it's done, you throw it in the dryer. A couple of dryer sheets. It's a pain in the ass. But I got that done. Then I realized, Boots needed delectables. Yeah, this cat, if he doesn't have his delectables, he won't eat. He'll look at you like, hey, you're starving me to death? And he only eats the broth delectables. Yeah, they have 3 or 4 different varieties, like gravy, stew. He only eats the delectables in broth. So I realized, I better go get, and then he's got to have his blue bag of seafood Friskies, and of course, have to have his cat treats. So I run up the marks. I go back to the cat food section, and I'm looking like, oh no, they're out of broth delectables. I was like, oh. And if you buy, it's bad enough. It's $12.99 a box for these little tiny pouches. If you buy them individual, they're $1.65 a piece. I'm not paying that kind of money. So I'm looking, and I back up, and I was like, there's a box on the... They always keep the goddamn things on the top shelf, too, on top of it, So I had to step up on the riser and reach back, and luckily I got the last box of delectables. So I put it in my little basket, I get the little carry basket because I never get enough for a lot, cart. So I walk. Now, mind you, I put the basket down right at the edge of the riser. And I walked back 6 feet to get the blue bag of Friskies. I get the bag. I come back. I go to put it in the basket. My delectables are gone. I looked around real quick, and I see this kid make a mad dash around the corner of the next aisle. Shopping out of my basket. So I walked around, and of course, now we're playing Ring Around the Rosie, zigzag through the aisles. So he finally stops and walks away from his cart. I like these people. They stop at this end of the aisle and they walk all the way down the other end of the aisle to get what they need. So I walked over, I took the box of delectables, broth, put them back in my basket. I start heading down to get my loaf of Jewish rye bread. Next thing you know, I've got store security tapping me on the shoulder. You stole something out of his cart. This guy's cart. I said, what do you mean I stole something out of his cart? Well, you took a box of pouch, he called it pouch cat food, which it is, out of his cart. I said, oh, really? Let me tell you something. I took my delectables that he stole out of my basket out of his cart. So then this kid starts a bunch of bullshit. Oh, no. So I said to the security, I said, okay, let's go to the front desk. We're going to take care of this real fast. So we go up to the front desk, and I asked the girl, I says, is the manager in the store tonight? She says, yes, we're in the middle of doing inventory. You want me to page him? I said, oh, definitely. So she pages him, manager, service desk. So the manager comes up, and he says, to the girl, he says, well, what do you page me for? Well, this gentleman here wanted you paged. I said, well, I'll tell you what. To keep this on an even keel, we'll let the security guard here explain, and then I'll give you my explanation, and then you can go back and check the tapes. So the security guard says, well, yeah, this kid flagged me down. He took a box of pouch cat food out of his cart. So I told the manager, I says, if you go back and rewind the tape over in the cat food aisle, you will see I had to stand on a riser in order to get the last box that was on the back of the top shelf of broth delectables. The same item I have in my basket right now. You will also see when I put my basket down to walk to get the Friskies cat food, the dry food, he took that box out of my basket. So I just went and retrieved what was rightfully in my basket to begin with. So this kid keeps going, no, he's full of bullshit. So I told the manager, I said, go back, check the video. Meanwhile, the security guard takes the delectables out of my basket and puts them on the service desk. He says, we'll keep them here in a neutral position until the manager comes back after viewing the video. So evidently, it took the manager time in order to rewind the camera from that section of the store. Because I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. So the manager motions for the security guard to come back behind the service desk. So the security guard and the manager go back in their little camera room, their little monitor room. Next thing you know, out comes the manager, out comes the security guard. The security guard takes the box of delectables and he puts them back in my basket. Needless to say, he was just going to let this kid walk away. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I said, you're not going to chastise him for what he did? None of you? I'm looking at the manager and the security. I said, neither one of you? I said, this kind of shit starts fights in stores. And it's a bunch of bullshit. It's not my fault. That was the last goddamn box of delectables you have in the store. I had to go back and reach for him. And then he just walks by. And the manager basically had a little conversation with the security guard. And he says, yeah, the kid looked, saw that there was an empty space between the other boxes of delectables and that I had to reach up and retrieve it. He saw it was empty. He looked down in my basket. All right, part of this is my fault for putting the basket down. I should have kept the basket with me. But I was only 6 foot away from it, and it only took me, a couple of seconds to walk down and grab the bag of dry food and come back. So I admitted that. But I says, he had a lot of goddamn nerve reaching in my basket and taking that box of cat food. And you're not going to say anything to him? Well, the security guard goes, well, it isn't really theft. I says, in a way it is. He is taking from my basket. It would be no different than if I went to load my groceries into my truck and I left them in a cart like everybody does because you can't take your cart into the parking lot, and he'd walk by and taken it out. I said, it's the principle. So the manager goes, well, yeah, you do have a point. I says, what do you mean I do have a point? Yes, I have a point. I says, this shit goes on all the time. I've seen it. Where somebody will walk down an aisle and they'll just help themselves to somebody else's shopping cart. I says, that's a big cause of arguments in stores. And this smart ass decided to be cute and take what I already had in my basket. So the security guard took him aside. I don't know what he said to him. I'm sure he probably, smacked his hand and went, don't do that no more. But it's the goddamn principle. Once you put something in your basket or your cart, that is temporarily your property until you pay for it. Then it's yours. You have selected that. It's in your cart. Now, I'm sure if it went to legal, they would say, well, no, nobody owns it yet. It's in my basket to purchase. And it's a bunch of crap when people do this shit. And I never thought it would happen to me. I've seen it happen in stores, and I've told the person, hey, that woman there took your bottle of syrup or whatever out of your cart. Some people go, oh, no problem, I'll just take another one, no harm done, no harm, no foul. And I tell these people, yeah, no harm, no foul. It's the principle. You don't shop from other people's carts. And I said, it's like with me, it was the last box. I made the effort to get that last box. Yes, I know I'm breaking a safety regulation by standing on your precious riser. But why do you take and put these boxes on a 7-foot shelf? You can't lower that shelf? You can cut back on some of this other hanging merchandise that you have. But no, you raise that shelf up 7 foot, and then you put a product that I know sells on a shelf that's 7 foot off the floor. And you don't make it very easy for anybody to get to. Yeah, I broke a safety rule. I stood on your riser. I know I should have called for a store employee to bring a ladder so that you... But it's the object that this goes on more and more. I see it almost every time I am shopping. Somebody will be too goddamn lazy in order to go wherever that item is and get it. No, they'll walk by and go, oh, gee, look, avocados. I'll take this bag. They'll never notice. I don't know what society is coming to today. It's just, don't these, well, it's obvious these kids are not taught from childhood right from wrong. These kids today, I don't know where their parents are. It's obvious their parents just turn them loose. I was taught from a young age, right from wrong. And if I did wrong, oh, I paid for it. And this technically could be considered theft, even though it wasn't stolen from the store. It was stolen from my basket. And I think this store security guard learned real fast, you don't fuck with this old man. I'm not going to just roll over and lay down and take it. I had to crawl up and get that goddamn last box because I've got a picky ass cat. And then this kid looks, uh-oh, there's no more broth delectables. Oh, look, here's some in this basket. I wonder why this basket is just sitting here unattended. Evidently, somebody decided they don't want these groceries here, and they just walked away and left them. No. You knew what you were doing. Because as soon as I turned around with the bag of dry cat food, you scurried off like a goddamn rat running from a cat. And then you zigzagged a bunch of aisles to try to get away from me. What do you think, because I'm old, I'm slow? No. And basically, if it would have come down to a confrontation in that aisle, he was going to get one. The only problem is nowadays, you never know what weapons they're carrying. Now, sure, there are big signs as you enter the store. No projectile ejectors. But they don't have a metal detector. They don't know if you got one tucked in your coat. It's just a sign. Not allowed. Well, theft isn't allowed either. But that didn't seem to bother you when you stole my goddamn cat food out of my basket. Oh, I was pissed. The only good thing was that when I went to finish my shopping, the two little sweethearts that I kibitz with all the time saw what was going on and came back in the aisle and said, "Hey, you were 100% right. What he did was wrong." And I was like thinking to myself, wow, here we got two girls that know right from wrong. Yeah, they searched me out in the store. Said, oh, we saw what was going on. That was totally wrong of him. So evidently these two girls had parents that taught them right from wrong. And they wanted to come back and tell me that, hey, we know right from wrong, and we agree with what you did. And I could see the manager when I left going, oh, Jesus Christ. I don't ever want to mess with him anymore. I don't want to get on his bad side. The manager should know what I'm like because of the goddamn bread fight that I've been having with the goddamn Schwabel's Bakery. Hey. Which, unbelievable, every time I go in the store now, there's Jewish rye bread. Wow. It took a crab-ass fucking old man to raise a stink in order to get a product constantly in the store that they should carry anyway. Every time, whether I need it or not, I go back in the bread aisle and I'm like, whoa, okay. There is never, since I put up the big bitch fit, there has never been a time that there has not been Schwabel's Jewish rye bread. And today it was amazing because there was no deli rye and there was no Cleveland rye, but there was my Jewish rye. I stand up for what's right and what's wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to fucking admit it. But when I'm right and I feel I'm wronged, oh, you don't want to get on my bad side. And when that goddamn delivery man said, whoa, it doesn't sell. What do you mean it doesn't sell? I don't know how many times I came in and there wasn't any bread there. I'm sure that he brought in Jewish rye And by the time I got to the store, it was gone. Gee, I think it sells. But it's amazing. After Grumpy called goddamn corporate in Pennsylvania, Jewish Rye just happens to be in the store every single time. Like a gift from heaven. It took me having to call the corporate office in Pennsylvania to get things straightened out in that store. Because dealing with the main representative in Ohio didn't seem to work. So I went over his head, like I did with Sylvia. We got that handled. Unfortunately, I didn't open the box to inspect that TV. So we lost 2.5 years worth of extended warranty. But like I told Sylvia, I am not opening that box because I am not keeping that TV set. And when I offer it up for sale, I want people to see it's still factory sealed. And it was. And from what I understand, my grandniece loves the shit out of it. All of her friends are jealous. Oh, look, Grandma bought me a 58-inch TV set. For some reason, Uncle Grumpy didn't get included in that, but no big deal. We know where it came from. Thank you, Sylvia. Bitch. I've got friends that think I'm off somewhere in left field. Why do you put up such fight? Don't you have better things to do? Well, yeah. But I'm the type of person that I fight for the principle. I purchased an extended warranty. When I gave you all the information, the claim should have been handled immediately. Okay. Here we have all the TV information, purchase receipt, everything. TV doesn't work. Closed. But no, they wanted to blow smoke up my ass. And then, never the same person twice. Everybody just kept shuffling that claim all around the office. Here, you write him a blow smoke up his ass letter, and then, okay, here, you write him one. Although, I think leaving Sylvia 50 voicemails in one day sort of got her attention. I tell that to my friends, too. I left 50 voicemails in one day. I had her number on speed dial. But she was the one that wrote me the email that said, If you have any problem, here's my phone number. Call me. And then I call you and you don't answer. And not only didn't she answer, her secretary didn't answer. I don't know what kind of organization that is. But after the 50th voicemail, she finally was like, okay, I give, waving the white flag. I give. And it was amazing how fast that claim got handled after that. I kind of miss it. But what's right is right. I'm only doing things that I was taught as a little kid. And if I'm wrong in a situation, I admit it, I apologize, I move on. But this was bullshit today. And I wasn't going to stand for it. He thought he was going to be fucking cute. Tell the security guard, oh, he took my cat food. Yeah. I took my cat food out of your basket. The one that I had to stand on the riser to get off the goddamn top shelf. And then you took it out of my basket. So I followed you around the store, and I took it out of yours. And then you cry like a little baby. I guess you didn't realize there are goddamn cameras everywhere in that store. You can't miss them. Jesus Christ. That's one thing I'll say about Marks. He spends money on goddamn camera. I think he's got more cameras than Walmart. They're everywhere. I think there's like 12 over the service desk alone. You got them facing out forward, you got them facing back, you got them out the sides, you got them straight down. Yeah, the one day while the clerk was on the phone, I was counting. I was like, You got more cameras at a service desk than they do in a bank over a teller's window. And there was a camera right above. Right above. I'm sure if somebody would have been sitting back in the loss prevention room, they'd have seen me up there standing on that riser reaching. I guarantee somebody from the store would have come out and went, hey, grumpy old man, you can't be doing that. That's a safety hazard. If you fall down and get hurt, our company attorneys will have a shit fit. Well, if I fall down and get hurt, it's my own fault. I shouldn't have been standing on that riser. I should have called for help. So, yes, if I would have fallen down, I got myself to blame. But see, I'm not like everybody else. If I would have, if somebody would have done the same thing and fell and hurt themselves, they would have claimed it was a faulty riser. Not that they were doing something that basically was a safety hazard. Oh, no. That riser was faulty and caused me to fall. Bullshit. If I'd have fallen, it was because of my goddamn old age. Us seniors don't have good balance. And I guarantee if I'd have fallen, the first thing that happens is a senior breaks their hip. That's why they've got hip replacements like in a display case at a doctor's office. Pick one, A, B, C, which one? That one on the end is on sale. It's on clearance because we're doing away with that model. Yeah, every time a senior falls, they break their hip. There must be some code book somewhere. Senior falls, broken hip. Be my luck, I hit my fucking head. Gee, that we don't have anything in the manual for broken head. Can you stand up and fall down again and break your hip? Okay. Yeah, it was a stupid thing. But I knew I could reach it. And it wasn't like I wasn't securing myself. I had my left hand holding the back of the shelving unit, and I just reached up and grabbed with my right hand. It wasn't like I was like, but yes, I was wrong to do that. But I wanted that last box. I have a finicky ass cat. He only eats Delectables broth. Spoiled rotten. Although he is my buddy, so he's talk about a pain in the ass. He's a goddamn bed hog for one. But it's cute. Every night I get in bed, he's got to lay right next to me, like almost in my armpit. Then I get the kitty massage. And boy, sometimes he gets into it. He'll do all 4 feet. Then after he gives me about a 10-minute massage, he rolls over on his back, all 4 feet in the air, and lays right against me. The only problem is, if I move, he moves. And if I move again, he moves. A couple of times he's almost had me off the edge of the goddamn bed. But he insists on being right next to me. Now, I've had cats all my life. Most of the time, they'll curl up at the foot of the bed. Or maybe on this edge of the bed. I have never had one, first of all, that lays on his back like a human and has to be right up against me. And then he does, it's a pain in the goddamn ass, but he does a cute thing. I'll feel him on my chest. He's 22 goddamn pounds. Even with just his front feet, I feel him. And it's like he's checking to see if I'm breathing. I'll open my eyes and I'll have a cat face right here, staring at me. And I'm like, what do you want? You woke me up. Then after he wakes me up, he lays down, goes to sleep. And then it takes me forever to go back to sleep. But he'll do that several times during the night. Now, I don't have a sleep problem, believe me, except for insomnia. But it's not like, I miss a breath now and then. I've been tested. Because I mentioned this to my doctor. He'll do this for a couple of months and then he'll stop. And then he'll do it for a couple of months and he'll stop. So I mentioned to my doctor, I said, hey, can we test to see if I have some sort of sleep problem? He says, well, why? I said, because there's times my cat will wake me up in the middle of the night. He'll be staring at me. So I was tested. No problem. Except for the insomnia. So I don't know why he does this. It's a pain in the ass, but in a way it's cute. You know, making sure his owner is going to be around in the morning to feed him. You know. But talk about a finicky ass cat. Oh, Jesus. I have been through almost every brand of cat food. He'll eat it for 3-4 months, and then at the snap of my fingers, I'll put it down, and he'll give me this like, are you trying to fucking poison me? I ain't eating that shit. Or you ate it last night. Nope. When he decides he has had his fill of a certain brand of cat food, that's it. If he stops eating delectables with broth, I'm screwed. I don't know what to try next. I tried the stew, turned his nose up at it. I tried the gravy, turned his nose up at it. I hit it lucky with the broth. And those are expensive goddamn little packets. I've gone through, you name it. God damn, there's so many different varieties of cat food out there. Especially like when I was going to Pets R Us or something. Pets are supplying us. I think that's what it was. Pets are supplying us or something. 40-foot aisle of every brand of cat food in the world. And I've been through just about every brand. Talk about a finicky cat. And then, when he was a kitten, I created a monster. He had to stay in the bedroom until he got accustomed to things. Not to mention I had 2 other cats and I didn't want a big war between them. So in order to get him to stay in the bedroom before I shut the door, I would give him a couple of cat treats. Yeah. He's 8 years old, and I still can't get out of the bedroom unless I give him a couple of cat treats. He'll fucking grab onto my... He grabs onto my belt loops and holds on like, hey, you ain't getting out of this room. I didn't get my treats. And now, he started this about 4 or 5 months ago. If I walk anywhere near the bedroom, he comes like Speedy Gonzales, runs in and jumps up on the bed. And he'll be like, I'm here for treats. And if I have to get something out of the bedroom, I have to give him a treat. Boy, does he have me trained. Then once I give him his treats, it's like, okay, get the fuck out of here. I'm done with you. Talk about animals training their owners. He's got me trained. Oh, speaking of trained, I forgot to check what year this documentary was made. It's called Blackfish. And it's basically about the orcas, the killer whales, at SeaWorld. And it goes into the trainers that met their demise at the mouth of a whale. Most interesting documentary I've watched in months. I recommend it highly. Like I say, I don't remember. I didn't look to see when it was made. But it's called Blackfish. And it goes in depth, which I never knew about orcas. How, SeaWorld would move one from like California to Florida. And they always had the attitude, well, it's a big fish. No. And they've proven this. Each pod or little family has their own language, their own mannerisms. And it would be like taking an American and putting them in like France, and the American not speaking French. And how they don't want that whale with them. And they had instances where the group that they had beat up this newly brought in transplant, we'll call him. And basically, how they would have to isolate that certain whale, and it ended up, for all intents and purposes, frustrated as hell, and took its frustrations out on a trainer. It's an amazing documentary to watch. I'm not getting paid by this, But if you've got streaming TV service, it's a free documentary on YouTube called Blackfish. I recommend it highly. It's an excellent documentary. Well done. You can tell how old it is. It was narrated by Paul Newman. No. Take that back. The Meerkats was... I watched two documentaries last night. I watched this Blackfish, and then I watched the one called The Meerkats. I watched that one for fun because I think they're cute. If you want to watch The Meerkats, that one was narrated by Paul Newman. Kind of interesting. Both of them were really interesting as hell. I learned a lot about killer whales from this documentary. It's that well done. But it also, is the cause of the demise of SeaWorld. Now, I don't know if we still have a SeaWorld out in California or Orlando, but the trainers can no longer get in the pools with the orcas like they used to. And it was due to them finally learning that these orcas are like humans. They have feelings. I recommend it highly. It might be on other streaming services. Look for Blackfish. Very well done. You'll learn a lot. And so much for my movie review. Like I said before, if I find something interesting, I will pass it along. And this was a very interesting documentary about the orcas. And they've learned that each pod has their own speech. Now they say they're just making noises. No, they have done recordings of several pods, not to mention recordings of pods in the wild. And each pod has different sounds, like different speech. And they said that this one pod that they really did an in-depth study on had over 50 different sounds. Watch it. You'll love it. Especially if you're into those kind of documentaries. And then for fun, watch the meerkats. Those are some goofy little animals, I'll tell you. You can tell what I watched last night. I do watch educational shit, I'm not hung up on, court videos and police chases. Sometimes I watch educational stuff. This really caught my attention. Matter of fact, they don't give you a synopsis. It's just Blackfish. And it had a picture of an orca. I was like, well, this could be interesting. Because I almost passed it over. Excellent. Grumpy gives it 5 vultures. That's going to be my movie rating. 1, 2, 3, or 5 vultures. This one gets a 5 vulture rating. There, are you happy? I did. He's always saying I'm so against him. So instead of 5 stars, it's a 5 vulture rating. Does that make you happy now? Stinky ass bird smells like goddamn lavender air freshener. I don't know what's with him lately. Well, I know what's with him. Because I kept saying he stinks. Now he stinks in a different way. Nothing like having a bird come in smelling like lavender air freshener. Yesterday, Old Spice. Not to mention, the different flavored shampoos. I think he bought one of each. Now he's into the aftershave and now air freshener. It's pretty bad when I have to hide a can of air freshener from a bird. Oh, I did find out. We will have 3 new studios. They're working on 3 more. And the CEO said they're working on a surprise for me. I told them, if it's anything like the surprise in the sub-basement that you stuck me in a room full of old, dusty television sets, I don't want the surprise. He says, oh, you're going to love this one. I'm making up for that one. I don't know when. But there's something special for Grumpy to make up for sticking me down in the storeroom on New Year's Eve. So, we have 3 more studios that I get to do the premiere debut as soon as they're finished. I don't know where they're at. You know, we got so much going on in this goddamn building. Every time I walk down, walk through the complex, there's more black plastic, and I'm not even going to bother cutting holes in it anymore. I'll just wait until he goes, all right, go down here, turn left. Although, I also got permission to do more shows from the sidewalk studio. It's not because he likes me doing shows from there. He just likes that I'm promoting it. With the money they spent, people watch the TV station for when we do our shows from the sidewalk studio. Because we're better than Rockefeller Center. Problem is, I don't get to do it daytime. No. I asked about that. I said, hey, how come I can't do it daytime? You'll scare people. I'll scare people. Yeah, first thing in the morning, they want to see something like you. I said, oh, gee, thank you. I thought I was the pride of the station. Well, I am, he said, at night. I'm the pride of the station in the evening, not during the day. I think I'm going to let the air out of the tires on his new Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith. And with that, I think we're going to call it a stream. Let me get the outro music. Watch the Scooby tablet. You're going to... No. It went right to the intro. Right as soon as I opened it. I don't know what it is with this goddamn tablet. I'm going to have to start using the new tablet. I think this one's got a demon in it. She's got a wonderful voice. She really does. Well, friends, we will meet again tomorrow night. Same time. Well, maybe the same time. Definitely the same station. Different studio, maybe. But with that, the Grumpy Old Man and the Grumpy Vulture bid you a wonderful good evening, and we hope you have a great rest of your evening, and we will meet you again tomorrow night.